He was the last pick in the draft, just 5'9", and everyone told him he was too small to ever make it. But Isaiah Thomas didn't care. He had one plan and one plan only: make it to the NBA and prove everybody wrong. In 2017, he wasn't just good, he was great. An all-star, an all-NBA player, finishing top 5 in MVP voting while carrying the Boston Celtics deep into the playoffs. The entire league was buzzing about the little guy with the giant heart. Yet just a year later, everything changed. A hip injury the team misdiagnosed, endless nights playing through pain, and the brutal reality of how fast the NBA can turn its back on you. In the blink of an eye, Isaiah went from the king of the fourth quarter to fighting for a roster spot. This is the tragic story of Isaiah Thomas, the underdog who climbed all the way to the top, only to see it all collapse just as quickly.
Early NBA career with Sacramento Kings. Against all odds, Isaiah Thomas turned doubt into fuel. Within months, he claimed the starting spot and never looked back. By year 3, he made history. The shortest player ever to average 20 points and 6 assists, and the smallest man to record a triple-double, with 24 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds against the Wizards. But just as his star was rising, the Kings did what the Kings always do. They traded him away to the Suns for almost nothing, setting the stage for both his rise and his heartbreak.
Short stint with Phoenix Suns. Thomas's time in Phoenix felt doomed from the start. The Suns already had Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe, 2 proven starting guards, so bringing Isaiah in never made sense. He played well in flashes, but the fit was awkward, the minutes inconsistent, and the locker room uneasy. Mid-season, the Suns shipped him out, and just like that, he was gone. Another reminder of how quickly the league can chew up even the most determined underdogs. Rise with the Boston Celtics. Boston wasn't just another stop for Isaiah Thomas. It was the place where everything changed. At first, he didn't even want to be there. He had no connection to the Celtics, no desire to wear green. But Boston is a city that breathes basketball, a place that loves fighters, underdogs, and players with grit. The night he was traded from Phoenix, a friend texted him, "This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to your basketball career." At the time, it sounded crazy, but it turned out to be the truth. Coming off the bench in his first season, Isaiah quickly became the spark plug the team needed, averaging 16 points and 4 assists, and finishing second in Sixth Man of the Year voting. In the playoffs against Cleveland, he was Boston's best player, showing flashes of something bigger. And then, the breakout came. In the 2015-16 season, Isaiah became a full-time starter, playing every single game and leading the team in both scoring and assists with career highs of 22 points and 6.2 dimes per game. He didn't just carry Boston, he earned the respect of the entire league, making his first All-Star game. Think about it, a guy drafted dead last, number 60 overall, becoming the shortest All-Star since Calvin Murphy. The Garden roared for him, and the city embraced him like one of their own. In the playoffs, Boston fell behind 0-2 against the Hawks, their season slipping away, but Isaiah refused to let go. In Game 3, he exploded for 42 points, joining the short list of Celtics legends who dropped 40 in the postseason. The Garden shook, the fans chanting his name, and he dragged the team to victory. In Game 4, he added another 28, tying the series at 2-2 and making it clear this wasn't just a feel-good story. This was a star being born. And for a moment, it felt like Isaiah Thomas was destined to lead Boston back to glory.
Peak performance and All-NBA recognition. Brad Stevens saw something in Isaiah Thomas that nobody else did. He took a 5'9" guard who was drafted last and built the entire Celtics offense around him. The system was built for Isaiah. Teammates spaced the floor, screens were set perfectly, and every possession flowed through his hands. On defense, Stevens tried to hide him as much as possible, but on offense, Isaiah was unleashed, and the results were magical. He became a masterful playmaker, a fearless scorer, and the heartbeat of Boston's attack. In 2017, Isaiah averaged a career-high 28.9 points per game on the best shooting splits of his career, cementing his place in the record books. He averaged 33 points in January, just the third Celtic ever to score over 30 in a month. He joined legends as only the sixth Boston player to break 2,000 points in a season. He broke a franchise record with 43 straight games of 20-plus points. And then came his masterpiece. Against the Miami Heat, Isaiah dropped 52 points, including a staggering 29 in the fourth quarter, the most ever by a Celtic. The Garden erupted. MVP chants filled the air, and Isaiah stood there, overwhelmed. It's a blessing from God. You dream about things like this, especially in a Celtics uniform, with all the great players that came before me. He didn't take credit, he thanked his teammates, his coach, and kept pushing forward. That season, he was named an All-Star, and then the impossible. At just 5'9", Isaiah Thomas became the shortest player in NBA history to make an All-NBA team. For one shining moment, he wasn't just proving people wrong, he was rewriting history.
Personal tragedy and resilience. In one way, it was the season of his dreams. In another, it was an absolute nightmare. Because that same year, two moments completely broke Isaiah Thomas, both as a player and as a man. Just one day before the playoffs began, tragedy struck. His 22-year-old sister, China, was killed in a one-car accident on Interstate 5 in Washington. She was Isaiah's baby sister, his biggest fan, his rock. And suddenly, she was gone. The news shattered him. Isaiah admitted later that for the first time in his life, he wanted to quit basketball, that the game he loved no longer mattered. Yet, with tears streaming down his face and his heart ripped apart, he somehow found the strength to play. Before Game 1 against Chicago, he cried on the sideline, needing Avery Bradley to hold him upright so he wouldn't collapse. Even in that broken state, he put up incredible numbers, but the Celtics fell behind 0-2. Then Isaiah flipped the pain into fuel. He told himself he would honor China by giving everything he had left. With that fire, Boston stormed back to win 4 straight games, Isaiah leading both teams in scoring, carrying the Celtics to the second round. Just before that series began, he attended his sister's funeral, spoke through unimaginable grief, and then got on a plane the same day to rejoin his teammates. The Garden fell silent, as thousands stood for a moment of silence for China. And then, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, Isaiah suited up again, showing the kind of courage and heart you rarely see in sports.
Playoff heroics despite injury. In Game 1 against the Wizards, Isaiah Thomas took an elbow from Otto Porter and lost his front tooth. Most players would have been shaken, but Isaiah just wiped the blood, flashed his broken smile, and kept going. He poured in 33 points and 9 assists, carrying Boston to the win. Well, what happened in Game 2 was nothing short of legendary. On his late sister's birthday, he scored 53 points, the second highest total in Celtics playoff history, dropping 20 in the fourth quarter and another 9 in overtime. Every drive, every shot, every layup through contact felt powered by something beyond basketball. "It's my sister. She would have been 23 today," Isaiah said, holding back tears. "Everything I do is for her." That night, he wasn't just a 5'9" guard, he was a giant, leaving the Wizards helpless and the world in awe. Only 4 other Celtics had ever scored 50 in the playoffs, and Isaiah came within 1 point of John Havlicek's record. His heart, grit, and fearlessness made Boston fall in love with him, turning the Garden into his stage. The Wizards fought back, pushing the series to 7, but once again, Isaiah rose to the moment, dropping 29 points and 12 assists in the clincher, sending the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals. For a brief, shining moment, the smallest man on the court was the biggest story in the NBA: hip injury and misdiagnosis. At the very moment Isaiah Thomas should have been celebrated as one of the greatest underdog stories in NBA history, his world collapsed. Just days after dropping 53 points in the playoffs and playing through the unimaginable grief of losing his sister, he stepped onto the court with a hip so damaged it would soon cost him everything. In the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bronze Cavs, he could barely move. In Game 2, he tried, but every cut, every jump, every drive felt like fire ripping through his body. He scored just 19 points on 22% shooting before being shut down for the rest of the series. For a player whose game depended on speed, agility, and fearlessness, this was devastating. The Celtics said the injury began back in March, when Karl-Anthony Towns fell on his back, pressing his tiny 5'9" frame into the hardwood. But Isaiah never stopped fighting. He got up, finished the game, and kept pushing through the pain night after night because that's who he was. He didn't want surgery, not while Boston needed him. He listened to specialists and chose rest, therapy, and sheer willpower. He believed he could tough it out. But every game, every drive, every hit made the injury worse. By the time he was finally forced to shut it down, his hip was destroyed to the point where he could barely walk. And here's the tragic part. He risked his future for the Celtics, poured his body and soul into that playoff run, only to be misdiagnosed and then traded away like he was nothing. The injury that he tried to play through for the city of Boston ended up stealing his prime. Hip injury and misdiagnosis. At the very moment Isaiah Thomas should have been celebrated as one of the greatest underdog stories in NBA history, his world collapsed. Just days after dropping 53 points in the playoffs and playing through the unimaginable grief of losing his sister, he stepped onto the court with a hip so damaged it would soon cost him everything. In the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bronze Cavs, he could barely move. In Game 2, he tried, but every cut, every jump, every drive felt like fire ripping through his body. He scored just 19 points on 22% shooting before being shut down for the rest of the series. For a player whose game depended on speed, agility, and fearlessness, this was devastating. The Celtics said the injury began back in March when Karl-Anthony Towns fell on his back, pressing his tiny 5'9" frame into the hardwood. But Isaiah never stopped fighting. He got up, finished the game, and kept pushing through the pain night after night because that's who he was. He didn't want surgery, not while Boston needed him. He listened to specialists and chose rest, therapy, and sheer willpower. He believed he could tough it out. But every game, every drive, every hit made the injury worse. By the time he was finally forced to shut it down, his hip was destroyed to the point where he could barely walk. And here's the tragic part. He risked his future for the Celtics, poured his body and soul into that playoff run, only to be misdiagnosed and then traded away like he was nothing. The injury that he tried to play through for the city of Boston ended up stealing his prime.